Because I forgot to bring my copy.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the August 24th, 2017 Planning and Zoning Board Appeals meeting at 7 o'clock. Jen, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Dash.
Here.
Commissioner Kempa.
Here.
Commissioner DeGraff.
Here.
Commissioner Tamman.
Here.
Commissioner Neil Patel is absent by prior notice. And Commissioner Frank Watson.
I believe she's running late.
Probably running late. Yep.
Great, okay, so we have a quorum this evening, so we'll proceed. The first item is the approval of the minutes from the July 27th, 2017 PZBA meeting. Are there any comments, changes, or corrections? If not, do I have a motion to approve the July 27th, 2017 PZBA minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Jen, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kempa.
Aye.
Commissioner DeGraff.
Aye.
Commissioner Tamman.
Aye.
Chairman Dash.
Aye. Great. So on to old business. Our first case this evening is PZBA zoning public hearing, case number ZBA 17-06V. And the applicant is Joe Pascucci at 697 Glendale Drive in Prospect Heights. And the applicant originally applied for a variation to encroach 13 feet into the required 15-foot side yard setback for the purposes of constructing a third-car bay on his primary structure to store his work truck per section 5-6-1E2 of the City of Prospect Heights zoning code. However, the application has been amended to request a variation to encroach 4 foot into the required 5-foot side yard setback for the purpose of constructing a driveway in the required side yard to access his rear yard so he can construct a detached garage per section 5-6-2E2A. So I would now need a motion to reopen the public hearing on application number ZBA 17-06V.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Okay, so this evening, instead of swearing people in as they come up on each, or on this case, we'll go ahead and swear everyone in at the same time. So if you're going to be speaking to this case this evening, you can stand, and we'll do it all at once. And then when you do come to the podium, when we have, not yet,
No,
when we do.
if you're here for the 697 Glendale case, this is where you'll be sworn in. If you're here for the next case, you can just sit back.
Right, and then when you, after you're sworn in, then it is time for you to approach, then you just need to state your name and address for the record. Okay, so does everyone swear that the testimony they are going to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, Director Peterson, your comments, please.
This case has been, first came to the city in April. At that time, it was for a actual attachment to the primary structure to encroach the side yard. In an effort to accommodate and look at alternative methods to accomplish his goals, the applicant had requested a number of continuances while he pursued a different type of a garage and storage setup. During that time, he has come back with a revised application calling for a detached garage to be located on the west side of the property instead of the east side. And that garage has been designed to meet all the flood control standards of our flood control ordinance, so that variation that was talked about last night is not required. And he is here this evening to seek a side yard variation for a driveway to be constructed 4 feet into the required 5-foot setback along the west side of the property. So the case before us, and I've spoke with legal on this, even though the original application was for the structure into the side yard, and this is a driveway in the side yard, it's a lesser variation, and because we had proper notice and proper continuances, it was not necessarily necessary to notice again. Those parties that wanted to continue contact were given continued contact announcing of the meetings. So we are here tonight to conclude, or have the hearing, and make a recommendation based on the testimony given tonight.
Great. Okay, is Mr. Pascucci here this evening, or someone?
Hi, my name is Mike Aiello. I'm his architect. Joey's currently at the hospital. His wife just delivered their baby, so
Excellent.
he won't be here today.
Okay, so if you could just state your address for the record, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, it's 1800 Glenview Road, Glenview, Illinois, 60025.
Thank you.
Mike, for the record, because I got an email from Joey as well, you're prepared to move forward for the variation request on Joey's behalf. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay.
So do we need?
Go
a
ahead and
brief- Yeah, if you
explain.
want to give us just a brief explanation. I know that the request is pretty detailed, but,
Sure, basically, what we're trying to do is get him a third car garage in the back, detached from the house. In order to do so, we're meeting all the setbacks for the garage itself. The only variance that we're requesting is the driveway, being able to get to I think it's actually 2 feet now. So it's actually, we're a little bit less, but we're requesting the 4 feet to be able to get a driveway to get to the rear yard and be able to use the garage. We have met with Mr. Toberman here. We've designed the civil engineering to meet all the floodplain requirements, all the grading requirements. Structurally, we've done soil testing. We've gone through with the soils engineer to do a test pier. We know that we will be able to structurally build an adequate garage for him, and I think that's basically where we're at the moment.
great. Any questions from the commissioners?
I do have one question. As far as I have not seen in our packet from the structural engineer with the new design with the helicoil,
Sure.
a stamped drawing that states that it does meet the requirements.
Correct. We've actually brought the structural engineer on board this past week. Unfortunately, I was on vacation last week, so that's what the holdup was. They're proceeding with it and it won't be an issue. Once we submit for the actual permit for the garage, we will have the required signatures and seals.
Great.
Let's ask Mark to talk about the drainage.
Okay. Yeah, maybe Mark would want to come to speak about the drainage?
Good evening. My name is Mark Toberman, Norman J. Toberman Associates, Arlington Heights, Illinois. We were retained to do the topographic survey for the subject property. The majority of the property is located in the 100-year special flood hazard area of McDonald Creek. The existing house is outside the limits of the floodplain. An accessory structure, since it's not habitable, it's walled-in roofed, it's insurable, but it's not heated, cool, or doesn't have water or sewer to it. It's a permitted use under your ordinance. Whenever any fill is placed in the floodplain to elevate the slab of the garage, that fill has to be compensated for. That was done at the 1.5 to 1 ratio. In other words, the fill to raise the slab elevation of the garage was compensated because the drive will go all the way from the street, drain due south towards the low-lying property in the back. I spoke with Joey. He talked with the adjacent property owner. He offered to purchase the property because originally we were going to put the driveway on the property line to save the window well on the south side of his house. He wasn't able to negotiate with him, and he wasn't able to acquire the adjacent property. So we shifted the drive further towards the house. That gives us enough room. We'll have the drive about 3 foot off the west property line, and then adjacent to the drive, because now the drive is going to be lower than the adjacent property, there has to be a grade transition. So there's going to be a poured concrete curb along the edge of the drive, just so we meet the adjacent lawn elevations. And that gives also a couple feet of working room when you excavate out to put your form boards and your kickers. The drive's going to be 6-inch concrete. It's going to be reinforced. There's going to be a new culvert pipe in the ditch on the south side of Glendale. That culvert pipe will be pitched to the west It'll be an improvement in the existing drainage along the south ditch line of Glendale. And as part of the permit requirements, when I spoke with the city engineer, we made sure that he'll be working within the right-of-way in front of the adjacent home, just to clear the ditch, go all the way down to where eventually the water drains south and goes into the, that branch of, or excuse me, to McDonald Creek at that point. So the net result, the ditch will be improved. There'll be a new 12-inch ductile iron culvert pipe under the new drive. And in fact, there'll be the existing corrugated metal pipe under the existing driveway. He's going to put new corrugated metal end sections on those pipes. So once you put a metal end section instead of a regular round pipe, you reduce the, you increase the conveyance capacity because the water's able to be funneled into the pipe. So that'll actually improve the drainage on the south side of Glendale from upstream, which is to the east, so making it easier for the water to flow west. And then the disturbed lawn areas will be restored with sod in the bottom of the ditch line, just to make sure the grade's maintained, and then I think seed and blanket for the rest. I think for budget purposes, he's sort of afraid his wife's going to say, I want all sod, and instantly I said, if you do it in fall, it should come in real nice. So if you got any questions at all, we've pretty much gone through the engineering. I don't know if, I haven't heard back from, Steve formally or from John Briggs at all. I don't know who was reviewing it.
The building department did receive email confirmation from the consulting engineers
Okay.
that it did meet the comp storage
Okay.
requirements, and that was one of the key reasons it did not have to get a variation to the
Okay.
flood control ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
You might want to just tell a little bit about the type of construction. It won't be frame, it'll be, all the materials. Will explain a little bit about the
So-
flood resistance.
The bottom 4 feet of the perimeter walls will be masonry construction. Above that, we'll be doing a cement siding on the exterior. So basically, the entire garage is of non-porous materials. The flood vents that were added along the perimeter of the garage will allow any water that does flow to be able to flow in and out, which is part of the requirements in the floodplain.
Great. Okay, unless there's any other questions from the commissioners, we're going to go ahead and open the testimony to the public. So if you're here this evening to speak to the case, you're welcome to come up and just state your name and address for the record, please.
Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Peterson. My name is Dan Dowd, D-O-W-D. My business address is 701 Lee Street, Suite 790, Des Plaines, Illinois, 60016. I'm an attorney, and I represent the Wadowskis who are here. Actually was hired before the original hearing date to object to the original proposal, which called for about a 13-foot encroachment onto the east side setback or side yard requirement. With the new proposal, the main objections that the Wadowskis had have been removed. Secondly, they had a concern about drainage, and I understand now that the culvert's going to be repaired because the water pools in their front yard, and that was one of their concerns.
Are they on the south side of Glendale?
They are, yes.
And they're to the east?
Correct.
Okay.
So that objection, or that concern's been met as well. The only other concern I think they would have is that this board consider making a condition of the variation that the petitioner comply with the requirement that commercial vehicles in excess of 12,000 pounds not be permitted to be stored at the property, and that a violation of that would jeopardize the continuation of the variation. Anything else you want to add to this? And thank you. So a lot of what we were concerned about has been mooted by the change in plans. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else here this evening? Okay. I guess my only question would be in regards to Mr. Dowd's request that we put into our recommendation a reference to the commercial vehicle. I mean, if that's already a city law or ordinance, is it necessary to restate that?
We could make it part of the minutes and of the record. It is, in fact, an ordinance, and we will be enforcing that strictly. The applicant has been advised on numerous occasions that even though the garage may get permitted, that it does not permit violating any other sections of the city code, and he has acknowledged understanding that and understands what the consequences could be.
Okay. All right, so then you're confirming then that we don't need to put it into the recommendation because now we've put it on the record and we've also conveyed this information to our applicant.
He will receive, it's like a parking ticket or a speeding ticket, he's advised, and we will be enforcing that strictly.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion needed by the commissioners? Okay, if not, then I'd like a motion to close the public hearing on application number ZBA 17-06V.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now, yeah, any other discussion that needs to take place? Again, I think that the information provided this evening was, and in our packet was certainly thorough in regards to the engineering that we have, and obviously, our city staff will make sure that all of the requirements are met in order to have a building permit issued. Okay. Okay, so then, I'd like a motion, please.
Could we revisit the hardship letter, please?
Excuse me?
Could we revisit the hardship letter?
That was in the original packet from April, I believe.
Correct, correct.
Okay. So, specifically,
Can Joe speak to the, what is the hardship for this variance?
the hardship is, the original hardship was because of the floodplain and also to utilize his existing driveway. And that because of the floodplain, he couldn't move it to the other side of the house, the structure. Now that that original is out of the way, the hardship is still the floodplain, but because he's addressed the compensatory storage, he can utilize, that was to be able to get to the garage. So now it's to be able to access the rear property. You cannot access the rear property from the east side because he's restricted there, and that would be more of a encumbrance and would impact the neighbors to the east than putting in the new driveway and going to the west side. Additionally, because of the way the house was constructed to keep it out of the floodplain, he doesn't have a large side yard on either side.
But the hardship letter also explained that he had a tow truck and that he needed response time to go to accidents. And so the ultimate goal here was to be able to house his tow truck. And I don't know if that's really has changed. I know that we're here as a board to approve the garage, and the garage has met every standard for the building department, engineering, and also the flood issues. But I still think the ultimate goal is for his tow truck to be parked at his property, which is over 12,000 pounds, a D plate, and it's not permitted in the city of Prospect Heights, as the code is written, as it states right now, correct?
That is correct. Should the applicant want that desire, he would have to be back in front of this body for a text amendment to amend the code to even get it to be considered to become legal. He's been advised of that matter. And at this time, he does have other needs to park other lawn equipment, his snowplow truck that is a legal vehicle for the property. So he's changed it and is entitled to build a detached garage if he can do that. Until such time as he applies for a text amendment, we can just, refer to the concerns raised, continue to advise him of the situation, and then should he violate it, he will be subject to violations and penalties, which he has acknowledged understanding those consequences.
I'm just speaking for Joey, that's confirmed that we've had these discussions, and that is what we decided upon.
Thank you. Yeah, and this variance is something this board has granted to other residents within the city. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request, as we've granted this before. Again, whatever his intentions may or may not be, the application in front of us is pretty black and white. So unless there's any other discussion that needs to take place, I think we should continue.
Read into the record exhibits, acceptance of the
Right.
staff report.
So I'll need a motion to receive into the public record the staff review of this compliance of this application with the zoning standards as presented by staff this evening, and to make these standards a part of the official record for the application.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Your job, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, no additional evidence this evening, I'm assuming. Okay, so then I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the city council approve a variation for an encroachment of 4 foot into the required 5-foot side yard setback for the purpose of constructing a driveway in the required side yard, which will serve as access to a detached garage proposed to be built in the rear of the property. I would need a motion, please,
I'll make that motion.
and a second.
Second.
Roll call, Jen?
Commissioner Kempa,
Aye.
Commissioner DeGraff,
Aye.
Commissioner Tamman,
Aye.
and Chairman Dash.
Aye. Okay, so this will appear before the city council for a first reading on,
We're targeting September 11th, but it may be September 25th. With the holiday, we're going to have to try and get the ordinance written. Okay.
okay.
And Mike, can you please tell Joey that I will be in communication with him on that? Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that case actually officially closed.
Okay,
Just making sure.
Yep. It was, public hearing closed at 7:15.
okay, so we're going to go on to our first item of new business, and that's PZBA zoning public hearing, case number ZBA 17-09TA, and the applicant is MGR Realty LLC, addressed at 2970 Maria Avenue, unit number 210 in Northbrook, Illinois, 60062. And this evening, the applicant is requesting a text amendment to Section 5-2-2, definitions, and Section 5-6-1A, permitted uses, by amending the definition of family, adding a definition for family community residence, and adding family community residence as a permitted use in the R1 single-family residential district. So I'd like a motion to open the public hearing on application number ZBA 17-09TA.
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
Jen, vote please. Or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so if you're here this evening to speak to this case, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to swear everybody in at the same time. So you can stand. So do you swear that the testimony you will be giving this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, so then when you do approach, you'll just need to state your name and address for the record. Director Peterson?
This evening before us, MGR Realty, who's representing Aurora Health, is here to seek definition text amendment change to allow up to 8 unrelated individuals in a community integrated living facility in compliance with the State of Illinois Community Integrated Living Act, which allows such if the home meets certain standards. Approximately 2015, the property in question was purchased for this purpose, which was permitted under city code. They operated within compliance of the city code with 4 occupants. However, at this time, they are requesting the text amendment so they can go to the allowed 8 as stated in the Community Integrated Living Act. This has been reviewed by the city attorney. Language has been added that limits these types of situations to specifically state licensed Community Integrated Living Act facilitators, state licensed company. They have to meet all the requirements of the act, and that there can be no more than one of these types of state-run, state-licensed facilities within 1,500 feet of another within the city. The state law limits that at 800 feet. So the attorney has looked at that and has been in consult with that. And also, please be advised that these types of facilities do not allow for substance abuse alternatives, transition homes for transition from jail to community. This is a very restrictive type of a license given to very well licensed and vetted organizations providing care to integrate other communities. We have Mr. Gene Schloss representing MGR Realty here to speak to and formally expand on anything if I missed anything.
My name is Gene Schloss, 3754 Oak, Northbrook, Illinois, and company address 2970 Maria Avenue, Northbrook, Illinois, Suite 210. And also I got representative for our tenant who is running operation. It's Aurora Home Care. Basically, we filled this petition on behalf of tenant per their request, per their license with the state. So,
my name is Irene Bruega, and I'm one of the owners at Aurora Home Care. And we are a facility that help people with developmental disabilities integrate into the community. It is a house that is like any other house that you would live in for people to live together. These are usually patients that are over the age of 18 that no longer either do not want to live with their parents or cannot live with their parents, and they're taken upon by the state, and they're sponsored, and they're taken care of 24 hours a day by DSPs, which are state licensed people who are constantly watching and taking care of these patients. They try to live the most normal lifestyle you can. They either go to school, they go to work, they have activities they do, they go to outings. So what our job is to create a home for these people to be together and to be taken care of. So right now we have 4 people there, but according to the state, we passed everything that we can have up to 2 people per room. So we could technically have 8 if the city allows us to.
Great.
Gene, can you please explain some of the improvements that you made to the house that would allow you to accommodate and how it meets with the state law, please?
most of the improvements, it's a fire protection of the house. That's a state requirements, and it's passed by city fire marshal and the state fire marshal. That's part of the approval by Aurora Home Care. Also, we separate bathrooms. For 4 people, we have to have 1 bathroom in a house. It's a two-bathroom, full bathroom in a house in order to accommodate 8 if the city will approve that. So the house bedrooms size to the state standards, which is 110 square feet for double occupancy, accommodate 2 beds and 2 people can live in a 1 bedroom. I want to also state that most of clients of Aurora Home Care, it's a low functional, mostly nonverbal people, developmentally disabled, of course. They all evaluated to the age level of between 3 and 6 years old, brain-wise. So it's no additional traffic to the house, no overnight vehicle on a property. They're gonna use only one minivan to bring them in and out. Also, sometimes school buses generally pick them up, or workshop, which is place they work at. So the same school buses, they pick them up. That's traffic, so no additional vehicle on the property. We don't have garage, and we're not planning to put any, and we don't need to. Noise-wise, these people mostly nonverbal. It's pretty quiet. For 4 people, we keep in 1 personnel per shift. They keep 1 personnel per shift. If it's going to be 8 people, it's going to up to 8 people, and probably we're not going to fill 8. We don't know, but if that's happened, it's 2 people. After 4, they will incorporate 2 direct support personnel, which is DSP. It's a state certified people. So for each 4 people, we're going to have personnel to serve them. Personnel prepare food for them, laundry, all home cleaning houses. What else?
Well, like I said, I mean, I don't know, we were going to go in so much detail, but, you know, it's a house for people. So anything you would do in your home is what we do for these clients. You know, we try to make them feel like it's just a regular home. It's not, there's no counseling, there's no treatment, it's a home. That's where they come after work, relax, watch TV, go to bed, eat dinner. It's all it really is, you know?
Yeah, and I think what Jean is trying to validate by providing the additional information is that the house is well-suited to this.
Yes, well, we passed everything by the
Right,
state, and the
everything has
state
been
is super
passed.
stringent with everything.
Right, and I think the comments you provided this evening also give a little more description on the clientele in regards to how they're using the house. You know, they're not college-age kids hanging out on the back porch having their friends over and, you know, causing a lot of ruckus. It sounds like that these people, because they have a developmental disability, they're pretty confined to the home, and that's why they have the full 24-hour, round-the-clock care.
Yes.
So I think the information you provided tonight has been very helpful in understanding what's happening on a day-to-day basis there, and again, how the house has been, you know, revamped to accommodate these people. So while they're up here, do the commissioners have any other questions in regards to?
Irene, could you spell your last name for the
Sure,
record, please?
Brihuega.
Thank you.
I do have one question. I happen to have a maintenance contract with a company that has 2 houses of similar in Northbrook and Glenview, and their biggest problem that they're having, as far as the neighborhood is having, is cars for the 24-hour staff, and it happens to be more of a medical type of situation. So they have counselors, and they also have therapists, and they also have all sorts of other people that come in on a regular basis, and the neighborhood is having a real problem. When I come there with my truck for service work, I'm supposed to not park on the street. I have to tuck it behind the house or off-site parking, and then carry my tools in. So I was wondering, I mean, how many vehicles could be at this resident at any given time?
our driveway, and we got like parking space next to the house. We put in up to 5. It's going to be not to property line. I'm talking about to before the street line. We probably can put 4 plus 2 car could be put on the side of the house on a concrete parking space. So 5, 6, I would say, but we never got that much. And we're not planning to, you're right, we do have they have behavior analyst coming once a week. We do have nurse coming twice a week for a few hours. Usually it's a daytime or after traffic time. It's never like on a peak. They're not coming in a peak because it's not necessary. Also, with regards with medical emergency, it's a standard situation. Most of those people not medically ill, they're mentally ill. Is it like medical emergency could occur? Of course. It's like regular house. And by the way, the state requirement for SELA, which this program is, it should be residential setting, only residential setting. If the facility bigger, like intermediate size, up to 50 people, or the state facility, that should be in commercial area. But SELA only allow by state be in residential area. All reason is that to create for this people environment, house environment. That keep them quiet, they keep them happy, and they're happy, no behave, no complication. That's why it's a residential setting.
And I believe, oh, sorry.
One other question that I have for Director Peterson. With the 4 that we have right now, have we had any type of calls to the city and/or police department of any concern?
Since the facility opened, we have not had any extraordinary calls for service or care or incidences.
Okay, so any other questions from the commissioners? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and ask for public testimony. Okay, you can be seated. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you'd like to speak to the case, you're welcome to come up now and give your name and address for the record. Okay. So you
Ralph Spears, 223 Mandalane. I guess I sound like a bad guy, but and the poor people need some place to live. But we've lived there for many years, and it's always been a single-family, private, residential area. And so we'd kind of like to keep it that way. And they're expanding to 8, and apparently, as you said, that's their limit. But I would like to object to them expanding it. We have a situation even behind us. We're backed up to Mount Prospect, and they have a similar situation directly behind us in one house to the south. And there's a young man there that unfortunately can't help it, but he shouts and yells inadvertently. But it's a sad case. But on a Sunday afternoon, it gets a little tiresome at times. But you mentioned that they're required to have a sprinkler system. Do you know if they're on a well?
I may have misspoke earlier. They have to have full fire suppression, fire alarms, and that. And Gene, can you talk to the other improvements that were made? Because it's been over 2 years since I've looked at the file, the permit.
They're not required. If the old house, we follow the city ordinance and state allow us not to build any sprinkler system, but our fire alarm system connected to the city fire department.
Yeah, that was the requirement, is you had to connect directly to the fire department on a direct line, not just a call in by 911. So if something were to happen, you didn't have to worry about a phone call. The alarm just automatic. Okay. Yeah, I had misspoke earlier.
Well, okay, if there's no power, there's no water. In our area, we're all on wells. So that's another, in a situation like this, I would think that might be a slight problem. But other than that, I don't like to see, I know you have a definition of what you refer to this as, but it's a type of business, and it's not a private, single-family residence. I have lived there for many years, and I'd basically like to see it stay that way. So I know basically they have 4 people in now, and you can't change that. But I'd like to see it not grow any larger than it is. Thank you.
So I have a question, Mr. Spears. Have there been any incidences between you and the property in question that maybe we're not aware of? Have there been
I
any?
haven't had any problems with them so far, no.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there's anyone else here this evening, please come up.
Hello, my name is Robert Morris, 219 Mandel Lane. So it's my understanding that this is going to be a commercial venture, and I have the same objection too, that I don't want to see commercial property in a residential neighborhood. But most of all, I'm just concerned, it's going to grow to 8. Are there 8 bedrooms there? It's just the whole concept of that would be a large family. And if it was a family, I'd welcome them. But because it's more of a commercial undertaking, it's almost like the vehicle we were talking about, or you were talking about just recently. There's an ordinance against it, but there should be an ordinance against the fact that property that's residential is used for commercial usages. And it seems like it already is, but I agree with Ralph that it shouldn't grow any more than it is. Maybe we can't stop what it is, but if we can stop it from growing. And once this starts, I mean, what was the dimension? 1,500 feet from property to property. I'm the neighbor that has a location like this right directly behind my house. And some of the patients, I do feel sorry for them that they can't control themselves, and we have to listen to this. Some of the neighbors think it's me, but no, it's not. It's the neighbors directly behind us. So,
I guess go ahead.
Just to let everyone know, and consulting with the city attorney, this is a permitted use. The group homes is permitted and constitutionally protected, okay? You cannot discriminate against the group homes within. However, we as a city have the right to control how the house is built to make sure it meets all the safety standards that are required by state law, and to require that they meet the state requirements to be operated. And that's why we cannot, we don't have to allow transition homes for criminals. We don't have to do drug addiction houses. We don't have to do those other ones. One of the issues that we have with this is to try and, does the city want to have one CELA home 2 lots from another and another and another? That's why the ordinance does require 1,500 foot. We're proposing, the city attorney's proposing 1,500 feet so that it doesn't get on top of each other.
right.
And that's where the zoning comes into play on this. But the city cannot discriminate under the Constitution because of their disability.
Even on the quantity of how many occupants there are?
We've had that reviewed, and the state has come out with a standard, and if they've met those standards, that's what that we're governed by. What we can do is take a look at this, and there may be a way to restrict it, but right now, the advice of the city attorney is that as long as this is a specifically CELA project and state governed, state inspected, and state administered, it falls within part of the permitted, allowed. Now, that's the question is 8, and that's the maximum that's allowed in the single-family residential neighborhood is 8. So that's what the applicant's asking for, and that's what's being considered.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess I'd have the same question for you, Mr. Morris. Living in close proximity to this home, have you seen anything that's been?
I didn't even know they were there, to be honest.
Okay.
You know, so I just thought it was another family, so
Okay, all right,
I
thank
haven't
you.
had any issues.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Gonzalo Galvin. I live at 227 North Wolf Road. I guess my only concern is we have four children, and 3 of them are under 18. I just, I'm not sure if this is, as far as, my kids' safety, are they going to be okay, with, people that are disability-wise like they are? For instance, a couple weeks ago, the ambulance came by, like when I was leaving to work at 5 in the morning. And the fire trucks came by and everything. I don't know what the situation was over there. In another situation, I was coming home from work. One of the people that stay there, they ran out of the house and the traffic had to stop, because they ran into the middle of the street. So I don't know if my kids are going to be safe with a business like this next to my house. I don't have a problem, with them running a business over there, but I'm just concerned about my kids, safety.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else this evening? Okay.
Carol Whiteman, 207 Manda Lane, Prospect Heights. As most of the people that have spoken, we've been a longtime residents of Prospect Heights, and I love it like it is, our community. When we first bought our home here, it was Ascot Meat Market and a barber shop. And there was no Walgreens or anything, and we're certainly open to improvements within our own area. However, I have a great concern with the fact that we are residential, and I don't really understand the part, the residential family community residence and R1 single family. So it's my understanding that most of the people that live in Prospect Heights are R1 single family residents. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so this is the only residence in Prospect Heights that will be zoned for something else?
No, there are many homes in Prospect Heights that are zoned for residents that have home occupations. We have a lot of home contractors. We have a lot of home businesses. We have a lot of home other things. We have homes in town that also have.
But this is the only one that has special needs?
No, we do not. We have other homes in town that have up to 4.
Oh, we do have other homes
Yes,
in
we
town.
do.
How many do we have?
We have 3 other ones, and they live with they are not CELA, but they've been in town for a long time and have lived to our zoning standards and are not seeking this request.
And how many occupants are there in those homes?
4.
4. So you're familiar with that. Obviously, we are not. So if the zoning changes for where we live from a 4-bedroom house to an 8, because it's permitted by the state, and it's obviously inspected and whatever was said previously, that's good. But now, once this is changed to an 8-bedroom, then the other people that live in the city of Prospect Heights that may have not gotten this notice, they may go ahead and change their area to an 8-bed and an 8-bed and an 8-bed. So that's quite possible. So I guess my concern is changing it from a residential area for the amount of people that can live there for one area, which is where we live, could happen to the other areas within the city of Prospect Heights. And I just, I wouldn't like that. So hopefully you will think long and hard about that. And then my other concern was, I guess you're a nurse. How many nurses are there for the amount of people that are there?
So this evening, the testimony was that currently there's one professional, I don't know their credentials, if it's a nurse or whatever, but one supervisor for the 4 residents who are living there, and that anything beyond 4 would require a second person in a supervisory role, whether it's a nurse or, again, I don't know their credentials.
Okay,
I guess
I
we could ask.
volunteered a lot
We
for
could ask Irene.
Countryside in Palatine, and I'm used to dealing with a large variety of younger people, older people that are bussed in and needed help, but they were there for the day, and then they left because, well, now Countryside has been purchased by Little City of Palatine. But I think that having one person to supervise 4 people could be difficult, and if there's 8 people, it could be even more difficult. And if an emergency were to arise, I don't know what kind of children are there now, or if they're adults. Sometimes they reach out, they get angry. Some of them, like I said, I don't know who's occupying these homes at the time. But there are different concerns, and I feel for the gentleman who lives next door, who, since we all have half acres of land, it's such a beautiful day, why not be outside enjoying your property and doing what you normally do, living on a half acre of land? I was planting flowers. So in essence, to the gentleman that lives adjacent to this property, I would hope that you would take it into consideration how it would be if you had small children living next door to people with disabilities that may yell or shout or not behave in a manner of which we are accustomed to. And unless you're used to seeing something like that, it could be quite disturbing for an adult, and more so to a child. So I hope you all consider what we're saying, and if we could keep it a 4-bedroom, that would be great. Thank you.
Can I have you spell your last name for the record, please, Carol?
I'm sorry?
Can I have you spell your last name for the record, please?
Yes, Weideman, W-E-I-D-E-M-A-N-N.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I comment on something?
Absolutely.
Actually, a couple of things I'd like to comment on. Just to correct something, it is not an 8-bedroom. It's still a 4-bedroom home, but it's 2 people per room. So we are not changing anything, nothing's getting bigger. That's to start with. Second of all, these are not children. These are adults. They must be 18 years and older in order to qualify for this program. I have 3 children myself, 5, 3, and 18 months. So I understand your concern, but I could tell you, I have police, I have ambulances who come to my neighbors all the time. That happens in any neighborhood. So to comment on that, I mean, let's be honest, that happens everywhere. As far as being afraid, like we said, a lot of these patients are actually low functioning. They don't do much. They're medicated. They're pretty controlled. Like you said, they're not drug addicts. They're not people that are wild. These are not people with schizophrenia or things like that. These are people that are born with a developmental disorder. This is something that they've had from the moment they're born with. So I think you guys are getting a wrong perception of who these tenants are. I don't think you really understand what this is about. I don't think they're a threat to a community. I think that we have very good personnel, and we're really, really tightly regulated by the state. The way we're regulated, we get checked all the time. So if anything is not up to their standards, the state will pull the program immediately. So I can tell you, these houses are ran better than my own personal home because we are so tightly regulated on everything, and we make sure to follow every guideline and to make sure that these people are taken care of to the highest standard that there are. So we don't want to put any community, we don't want you guys to be afraid of anything because truthfully, they're not a harm to you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else this evening? Okay. I guess my comment is I think we've thrown the word, or we've heard the word tonight, talked about like commercial and commercial business and commercial. And I think my opinion is that even though these residents are in a setting where they have 24-hour care, I mean, there's no business transacting here. It's not a commercial use where there's products being sold or commercial type things happening. It still very much is a residence. This is a home where these developmentally disabled people are living. So that's the only thing that I really want to state is I don't feel that there's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Peterson, I'm concerned that we're using the word commercial under this scenario because really I do feel like these people are living in the home, and I don't feel that there's any commercial nature to this. So, I mean, do you think what I'm...
That is why the state has put these folks and put these programs in residential communities because it is supposed to recreate the home environment that they may not be able to stay in as they are adults, whether it's their parents are no longer able to care for them or they're not able to go anywhere. So it's to recreate a residential home setting under high care. And that's, in my research of this, that was the goal, is so they're not in an institutional setting. They're not in that setting, but to try and give them as much as a home environment as they can have. So it is not a commercial in nature.
Okay. Chair, commissioners, any other comments or items for discussion?
Just one question. How many cars maximum are we going to be parking at this property at any one time?
What does our ordinance allow for
The-
parking? I mean, I have to
A
assume.
residential home has to have a minimum for 2 parking spaces. It's been testified tonight that there could be upwards of 6 or up to 6.
Honestly speaking, we never got that many vehicles on the property.
Sounds like you can accommodate up to 6
We
vehicles,
can,
but normally.
we can, if that necessary. Give you worst scenario. Nurse which is coming once a week. We're not medical facility. It's not medical setting. It's not no medical business. We're not nursing home. This is like home environment, but nurse coming to check medication once a week. The same time, let's say 2 parents can pick up for weekend. That's happened. 3. Employee, 2 car, 5. It's a worst case scenario. Does it happen often? No. It might happen once a month. Because usually pickup happen on a weekend. It means no special staff, which is a behavior analyst or nurse, would be on the property. But parents could be. And like I said, we can feed 6 cars over there. But we're not planning, and we don't see that scenario. And it's never happened.
Because none of your residents have own vehicles, correct?
No, they cannot drive. They have no driver license. They like big child, outgrowing autistic. It's a good example of our residents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Director Peterson, could you explain again as far as legal obligations that the city would have in the event, obviously, we are a zoning, we make recommendations to city council, but what fallout could, if city council decides to say no, what type of fallout could the city incur as a result of a no vote?
There are multiple court cases that have been tried that support controlling occupancy limits in single-family homes, and there is the side of the providing the care, not discriminating against. So it could potentially lead the city to risk of exposure to being challenged. Yes, there's constitutional law that says you cannot discriminate against the folks with disabilities, but there's also been cases that say that in a regular single-family home that's not state licensed, you can control occupancy because you don't want to have 8 or 9 party people. You don't want to have situations that could totally change the character of a neighborhood. A case out of Missouri, he had 7 unrelated gang members in a house. That's why this ordinance is written very specifically that it is only for community integrated living facilities that are licensed and governed by the state, so that we don't get into haphazard occupancy levels. So, this could expose the city to some exposure, and the city attorney has commented on that, but that's why the ordinance was drafted the way it was, so it was very, very controlled in moving forward, so that we did not give up our rights into just, some guy has a 5-bedroom home and he wants to open it up to 9 of his buddies and drink every weekend or have parties. That's not what we want. That's not what we're here to discuss.
Thank you.
I guess my question too would be, how many, for the public notice, do we have it quantified how many people live within a certain range that received public notice?
We do have the list from the township assessors, and just to let everybody know, there was an error in the way that the wording notice was written, so actually everybody got 2 notices. One for last month and one this. It was just that on the notice, it was the wrong address.
I guess I'm asking for quantity. Do we know how many people were? So that's the
1,
list there.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 properties that were within the 350-foot radius that was required for notice by our statute.
Because I guess I was curious, I mean, we had 4 residents this evening speak to this matter, which is, I guess that'd be 18%.
Okay.
I guess trying to again quantify if this is, how many people received this notice.
Okay. We did have green cards returned, and we got receipts from the applicants proving mailing, and then because the city made the error, we did the second notice, and we had the 100% mailed out.
Yeah, and I guess my observation would be that, 3 of the 4 residents who spoke this evening, I think 2 of them didn't even realize that this house was being used for this, and validated, I guess, that there haven't, other than Mr. Galvin, had not identified anything abnormal happening at the home that wouldn't maybe happen at any other home. I know, to Irene's point, living in a neighborhood with lots of families and kids, there's certainly school buses and other kind of emergency vehicles in my neighborhood all the time. Not all the time, I mean, it's Prospect Heights, right, but it does happen right there. are all kinds of folks who need city services, and we're glad to provide those. So, again, just sort of trying to quantify, what's happening at this house, and we've talked about has it put any stress on the services that the city's providing, or has it caused any real ill will to any of the neighbors? And I certainly can't detect a huge problem based on the testimony this evening. So any other thoughts or comments from the commissioners or Treasurer Peterson? Okay, so then I guess what I'd like to do, if there's no one else that'd like to speak this evening, then we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. So I'd like a motion to close the public hearing on application number ZBA 17-09TA.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I'll need another motion to receive into the public record the staff review of compliance of this application with the zoning standards as presented by staff this evening, and to make these standards part of the official record for the application.
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I guess I would just, unless there's any other feedback from the commissioners, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion then to recommend a text amendment to section 5-2-2, definitions in section 5-6-1A, permitted uses, by amending the definition of family, adding a definition for family community residence, and adding family community residence as a permitted use in the R1 single-family district. So I would like to go ahead and get a motion to make that recommendation.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, then Jen, if you would call a vote, please.
Commissioner Kempa,
Aye.
Commissioner DeGraff,
Aye.
Commissioner Tamman,
Aye.
and Chairman Dash.
Aye. Okay, so I do want to reiterate that we are just we are a recommending body. So as Director Peterson mentioned, this will go to our city council, and that will likely happen.
April 11th is the tentative.
Not April.
First,
Yeah,
excuse me, I'm sorry,
September.
September 11th. Apologize for that. September 11th will be a first reading of the draft ordinance and chance for you to hear discussion from the city council.
And they can also provide additional comments at that meeting as well.
They can add comments, but there won't be a testimony like this under oath. You can, if you have a concern that's, any new information, yeah, you can come in and voice it. You do have a chance to speak to the council. The final formal action will probably be on the second meeting of September, which would be the 25th. Or no, 24th because of Labor Day. That's why it's moved to, or no, it's the 25th, excuse me. I don't have my calendar.
But they'll be on the agenda.
It'll be agendas.
And if you have questions as to when they're going to be on the city council meetings, you can certainly call City Hall.
Yep.
Or check the website for the agendas, correct?
Yep. The first one will be the 11th, then the 25th for formal vote.
Okay. So again, we're a recommending body, so ultimately the city council will vet the application and make the ultimate decision. Okay. So communications,
At this point in time, we do not have an application for next month's PZBA. If we get anything by Monday afternoon, I'll let the commission know. Otherwise, we won't have anything going in September.
okay. Anything else? Okay, then with no further business, do I hear a motion to adjourn the, oh boy, what's the date tonight, huh?
24th.
August 24th, 2017, Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals meeting.
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you to everyone who came this evening.